You seem to express this like, at the end of the day, everything's going to be okay and you can rebuild whatever is necessary. How important do you think it is for people to have that kind of attitude when they get into business, to not get so attached to their current idea, which might hold them back?
Because failure is a little part of it. Unless you're just so lucky that you're never gonna like make a wrong business decision and you're gonna have amazing sales days and you're just like a perfect person. It's a part of it. Like you have to kind of accept that's gonna happen, not to be like down, but you're gonna like it's a roller coaster ride. So when you're down, you need to like learn to pick yourself back up because it's inevitable. It's gonna happen. That's my answer. So you might as well deal with it.
Fair enough. And, I know you talk a lot about this whole like, embracing of failures. Are there any particular failures on the journey of babes that you think are an interesting story that people could learn from?
Um,
For
when I
those who are just listening, there's a lot of video interaction happening between the lines. So I will highly suggest you go to YouTube so the
okay,
body language could be understand.
I'm hiding. I don't want to talk. I don't want to talk anymore. I think my biggest failure is when I started comparing and copying. Not just comparing, but copying. Like I felt like I had reached a point of success where I had the money, but I felt like I didn't look professional. I didn't look the part. So I started looking at other brands that I thought looked the part and I literally copied instead of staying true to what got me where I was in the first place. And that has been like some of my lowest sales yet, like my lowest months yet. Those collections and what my brand looked like at that time, it just wasn't what the babes customer bought into. So I lost myself. So that is like one of my failures that I've learned from. Don't do that. Don't do that again.
It's very interesting because I do see people having conflicting advice, but it's not so conflicting. I think there's a nuance because some are like, look at what works and copy it. But then there's this whole like, you have to embrace your true nature based on what are your values and what makes your brand stand out. But I know even on your side, there's areas where you're like, hey, there's opportunities that exist in the system that you can absolutely exploit to get you to, get more market share, to make more sales. And I'd love for you to share more about the times where you can actually take advantage of way things that are set up, or you can copy certain things that are not going to affect the core brand, the look, or the values of the company.
Yeah, because I think I was talking with these big brands, they spend a lot of money on research and they just spend a lot of money on everything, on people giving them advice. So I think it's like free to look, not free, but it's free education to look at what they're doing, and they're doing it for a reason. Like there's a lot of people talking and there's a lot of research going into every decision. So I think it's important to look at what they're doing and take note, but just not lose your core. Yeah, but definitely take note of what they're doing. Like that would be silly not to, if it's working for them.
When you speak about the concept of your core, are there certain activities that you did, or is there something that you recommend people could do to get more clear on what their own core is? Because oftentimes it's like, I don't know what I am. It's not that simple. Like, yeah, I need answers. But in your case, is it something that you've deliberately taken the time to step back and kind of define, or is it something you kind of discovered as you go?
They kind of showed me. My customer along the way, they're like my boss. I feel like they've been leading me and they led me into my core, and I just had to embrace that. They're the boss, not me. I didn't decide the core. They did. They bought into, I gave them things and then they bought certain things and then that became my core. I just kind of follow what they want. I follow what works, and that it wasn't necessarily my decision. I wish it was, but it wasn't. I would have liked to look more professional, more put together. All of my models are from like top modeling agencies. But my customer, they just like organic, real women they like homemade, and homemade sounds bad, but they love that because I get it because I like it now too. But they had to bring me to that. They taught me to get to that, so that's how it became my core.
I love how you label the customers as almost like your boss. It's almost like you're a business that's like a servant to the customer. And I think that's an attitude that's probably missed a lot in the industry. I think when you start, it's not necessarily about putting the customer on a pedestal, but it's just having that respect for the customer and the role they play in almost the brand's self-discovery. I think is something that I admire from the way that you're operating this, because I do agree the customer does actually mirror back to you things that you can take and analyze and really not ignore, because I've seen the ivory tower style of management. That's not always the best thing. That kind of gets people, thrown sideways. I really, really love this conversation. I found it very interesting in your book that you actually end with something which is just like a one final thing. So if I was going to ask you a final thing when it comes to the message that you want to help people with and you want to share from your book, what comes to you?
Success doesn't look one way. Success isn't even just starting a business. Like, not everybody wants to become an entrepreneur. It's hard, like it's not, success for you may be like starting a family or like creating an art group, or I'm putting stuff out there, but it doesn't have to be what you think it is. And not everyone has to start a business. Like you can work your way up in your job. You can, sell headphones if you want or not. You can it just doesn't have to.
For those just listening in, I am shaking my head and nodding, and I'm saying, no, don't, unless you're really passionate about it. For me, it sounded like it was a good opportunity, and obviously my heart wasn't into it.
Yeah, so. Just that success just doesn't have to look one way. Like, that's what because not everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, and not everyone should, because it's hard and it's not for everybody. Do whatever success looks like for you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Selling with Love podcast. We have some previous episodes you can tune into right here. And if you prefer the short form content where you get to the point in under 10 minutes, we do have a ton of clips from our best episodes that are being shared on this channel as well. So pick which one supports you the most. And of course, thank you for liking, subscribing, and of course, selling with love.